5 years of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and this is going to be my November 2023 to November 2024 Year 5 painting collection. If you missed anything that might have come out this year, you can check here. There will be a list, and you can just go through and see if you missed any figures. Otherwise, take a look at my paint jobs. I finished one of my back projects that I said I was going to do, but never really get to. So I finished a dumpster, and other than that, I still have other backlog projects like measurement and tools and stuff that I never got to. But hey, that dumpster that's been sitting on my table for over a year is done. November 15th marks the 5th anniversary of this game, and we'll see, maybe Year 6 will finally add the Fantastic Four. But without further ado, here we go. Despite the fact I did not want to paint terrain, I did CPE-04, Battle for the Throne, and it comes with King T'Challa, who I did in a metallic purple and gold, and Killmonger, Usurper, which comes with this set, and I put him in bronze, blue, and brown with some dark greens. Overall, I'm happy with how it turned out, even though I really didn't want to do it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the water has glitter paint in it to try and make it some sort of heart-shaped herb-affected water. And here is a closer look at King T'Challa. I used an amethyst paint with a purple wash for the shadows, and I used some like highlighter yellow bright paint for his eye glow. His spear tip is silver, dry brushed with bronze and gold to give it some little bit of like a marbleized type of effect. And then over here we have Killmonger, Usurper, or Usurper, however you want to say it, I don't know. But I gave him an aqua with a teal spear tip, and then his sword is a jade with gold dry brushing, so it looks like an ancient royal weapon. Overall, happy with how they came out and the whole rival set in general. Now this one I had a lot of fun with. This was CPE-05, Tomb of Dracula. A really cool terrain piece. I painted this one up. I decided to make the staircase have a rug all the way down just because I thought that it looked neat, and spent some time on the details. Again, don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I added some glitteriness to the treasure pile over here. Really cool piece to me. I just usually don't like terrain, but I was inspired to actually paint this one up pretty well, and I went with a blue, gray, black type color for the brick, and spent time on little details that I normally wouldn't. And I do have currently the actual Dracula's sarcophagus here, but alternate Darkhold altar with some black flame candles and skulls. This set was just cool. Usually I don't want to paint terrain, or I'm not inspired at all, but so many cool little details and things that kept this interesting. Pretty proud of this one. CP-59, Kingdom of Wakanda, aka the pack with too many lamps. I did not want to paint this at all, as you can see. Everything is just basic. Not very well done, but I did even paint the little vibranium canisters. And yeah, I did want to paint the tree though. That I had fun with. I flocked the base a little bit to make it look like it's growing in like rock or sand or something, and then I dry brushed the benches to make them look like worn metal. And I just did the lamps hastily and poorly. Not very well done, but I believe, like the cosmic terrain, I just didn't want to paint this. So It's got color on it, works for the game. CP66 Mephisto. Now, I was trying some new techniques with highlighting and contrast paints and stuff that I don't really usually do, and I think the results on him came out pretty good. So, pretty satisfied with how Mephisto turned out. And there's the back. CP69, Shang-Chi and Silver Sable. So Shang-Chi, I just used some red, white, gold, and a jade, and painted up, gave him a little detail on the back of his top, did the yin-yang there. And with Silver Sable, I used liquid chrome. I used a chisel tip marker. If you want to get this type of shine, it works really well, although it smears easy. So if you want to hit it with a matte varnish or something afterward, a clear coat, just to seal that in, it shouldn't smear. And I also would advise doing it before you assemble her. If you try to hit each little part of her after she's built, not really easy. And I also changed the little smoke cloud off of her. I made a little smoke screen canister and changed it to some tactical concealment. I don't really like the bullets ricocheting off of her, but it's just something different, so I added them. And here's Silver Sable with some sunlight hitting her, so you can see just how reflective the liquid chrome is. I did the same for Mysterio's dome when I painted him. Works really well. CP91, Mighty Thor, Lady Sif, Thor, Hero of Midgard, and Loki, Prince of Lies. This was a pretty fun pack to paint up. I'm not a real big Asgard fan, but I like the figures on this one. It was a little more inspired than I thought I'd be. Did something a little non-traditional with Mighty Thor. I gave her similar colors to what she's supposed to have, but did more whites and silvers for her than blue and red. For Lady Sif, kept her in the colors she's supposed to be in. Didn't do too much special with her. But for Thor, Hero of Midgard, I went blue for him. And then I gave him this detail on his cape. He was pretty awesome to paint up. Painted him up. At the same time, I was having fun painting up my Asgardian Shrine, so I spent more time on him than usual. And not too happy with the electricity effect on him. Going back to Mighty Thor, though, I actually like how it came out with her, the lightning. Then we have Loki, Prince of Lies. Another one that I thought he was going to be quick to paint, but then I spent more time on him. And every time I added some little detail, I wanted to add more. And I am really happy with how he came out as well. So, all in all, nice little pack to paint up. CP95, Battle for Asgard. And I wanted to try a different way of painting fire and hot coals with each of these lamps. And I've got results that are okay, I guess. They look a lot brighter on this camera than in person, but I did use like a neon orange ink for the coal part. Dry brushed some black on there. For this statue here, I did it up when I painted my Shrine of Asgard, and I really like how this rock on the back came out with the strips of gold inlaid on it. And then I did, again, a little touch of the Bifrost, the rainbow bridge on the shield. Here's this dude's head. Got some lamps here and some treasure chests or something. I don't know. They look like little celestial heads coming out of the ground. But I have painted more light sources in 2024 than I have figures, I believe. So I am sick of lamps. I am sick of fires and candles and light sources, but had to paint them up. So there we go. And here we have CP96, Iceman and Shadowcat. So I did, on Iceman, I'm pretty happy with him. I did a metallic blue with a metallic white dry brushed over it, and then some pure white on the highest spots. I'm pretty pleased with how he came out. Then over here on Shadowcat, I tried to mimic the colors of my Sentinels as I painted them, and did her in like a navy and yellow. Lockheed, he was a little more fun to paint than I expected. I was getting back into painting a little more with these miniatures as I started to go later in the year's releases. So, yeah, pretty happy with them. This is CP106 Asgardian Shrine. This one took me a while, but I am very pleased with how I did on it. I did a like quadruple wash of colors to form the rocks, and then I just took a bunch of my metallics and created the center colors here, and then I dry brushed some rainbow coloring on her spear as well as on the stairs, just to give a little hint at the Bifrost. And it doesn't really show up on the camera, but there is some glitter paint, just a very light touch on the steps to give it a little shine when light hits it a certain way. And pretty cool set. I wasn't motivated to paint the Wakanda terrain. I wasn't motivated to paint this one because I just get tired of all the terrain, but then I started painting it and didn't stop and kept changing it and kept adding little details to it, and really love how it turned out. Accompanied by some Heroscape tiles and trees, and all of his terrain is CP107 Apocalypse. I painted my Apocalypse in the style of the X-Men 90s animated series cartoon colors, lilacs and blues, and his weird, like, bone-colored face. I was really pleased with how he came out. Used some skulls to accent his base. He's just awesome. En Sabah Nur, the one who believes he's the first mutant. He comes with these two little statue guys here. I think they have some sort of purpose with like a one-shot or whatever, but I have not played with them yet. This guy is just too cool. I was really excited to paint him. I was in a bit of a slump painting, and then they announced Apocalypse, and I was right back into it. I am very happy with how he came out. He's awesome. And he has interchangeable arms. I did not choose his right arm to be a cannon, but I did choose his left arm to be a saw blade, which I just thought was cool. I was going to paint him in gold and gray, kind of like his promo card, or just the regular gray and blue like they have him painted on the box, but nah, I had to go with the origins of where I saw him, which was the cartoon that I grew up with. CP109, Weapon X and Maverick. I originally painted my Weapon X with like hair on him, and I didn't like it because I'd never done it before and I ruined it. So he's just fleshy Wolverine. Maverick is another character that I knew nothing about, so painted him up to the best of my abilities. It's hard to be inspired to paint the character when you don't know him so well, but turned out alright. The armor looks more gold on camera, but it's more yellow in person. And I see now that the Prime is stripping off of his base. CP110, Shrine to En Sabah Nur. I ran out of the paint that I needed, and I just called it done. That's why the light sources are still wet with ink. They will dry, and they will look fine. Plus, there's fresh pumpkin bread out of the oven, and I want to get to that. I wasn't really feeling too inspired with this piece. I'm not a big terrain guy, but I did enough to it to where I'm happy with it. Looks okay. I was more inspired by the Rejuvenation Chamber and Dark Future set, but I did this one to my own personal level of satisfaction. I think it looks okay. CP112, Bishop and Nightcrawler. I'm really happy with how Bishop came out. with the blue and yellow, yellow being really difficult to paint for me. But Nightcrawler, a little less than thrilled about. For some reason, that blue would not thin, and it just kind of covered all the details on him. He's alright. And then I used Turbo Dork on his BAMF effect, and the heat turned the pinkish parts gold in some spots, and no matter what I painted over it, just the gold would keep coming through. So there he is that way. And Bishop, just painted him up this morning. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter when I painted them up for this video, but add a little detail for some of the terrain accents that I have sitting around that I never use. I still, as you can see, I'm not great about painting heat and all that. Just doing little things to try and practice and get a little better at it. That's this one. CP-151, Professor X and Shadow King. So I did Professor X in the classic 90s X-Men cartoon style, and I did Shadow King as best as I could with color blending and painting an excessive amount of white. He turned out relatively okay in my opinion. Pleased with how they'll both look on the table, but for some reason lately my washes have been staying like glistening, and I don't know how to stop that. These minis look wet even though they were dry for hours already. Oh well. CP-152, Angel and Archangel. I don't like Angel's pose, so he was okay to paint up. I did what a lot of other people did, which was give him his little halo on his chest. Archangel, despite being one of my favorite characters when I was growing up, I just didn't really feel too inspired to paint him. I see a lot of sloppy line work looking at him now. I am happy with what I did with his wings, though. I did liquid chrome on those to give them a nice shiny effect. All in all, I am satisfied with how these both turned out. And like I say on a lot of other ones, I know I am capable of doing better. I just didn't. I'm so nearing the end of catching up on painting this game that I'm starting to take a lot of shortcuts. Painting the end of year 5, that is, not completely. CP-153, Sunspot and Warlock. I am happy with how both Sunspot and Warlock came out, but I am not happy with Sunspot's base, because I was washing it with Nuln Oil, and I had some of this on there. This is how I've gotten that neon orange glow on some of the pieces I've done. And something happened where it mixed and kind of congealed, and now it's just a gross looking base. Both of them, just fine. I really don't want to go back and touch up his base, because then I'm just going to bury layers and layers of goop with more paint, and it's just going to look worse and worse. So he's going to be a decent paint job with a terrible base job. So I'm just going to have to live with it. Warlock, I primed him in Retributor, or whatever, gold, and then I dry brushed black over him. Wasn't that difficult to do. And I gave him a little don't walk sign that he's walking on and absorbing. He was pretty simple to paint. Not too bad. His eyes were easy because he has weird looking eyes in the comics. Sunspot, I did some neon yellow on his eyes, but it kind of sunk in and disappeared. CP-155, Gwenom and Scarlet Spider. I don't know anything about Gwenom, so I just got some color on the mini. Did black and pink and purple shading and all that. And this guitar axe thing I did in amethyst metallic. And then with Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly. His first appearance was in 1975, and he was killed off pretty much in the issue he appeared in, seemingly. However, he was featured in prominently in the much hated, from what I hear, Clone Saga. I didn't really have a problem with the Clone Saga, but I know it is not that popular. However, I had a little fun painting him up. I used a lot of contrast paints and touched up his spider symbol by hand. I don't know how to do denim or moss. Again, I do little practice things on minis now and then. So I was practicing some stuff on the less popular characters to me, so when I get to a character I really want to paint and do well, I get a lot better at it. CP-156, Electro, Sandman, Shocker, and Vulture. So, obviously, Sandman is the one that I spent the most time on here, and out of this set, he is the one I'm proudest of. Electro, he's kind of a lame character, so did what I could with him. Sandman, I took model railroad sand and some army painter rocks and stuff, mixed it together and painted him, and then did the sand on top of that to give him this realistic looking effect. I really like how he came out. Probably one of my best miniatures in recent history. Personal opinion. Shocker, I wanted to do something a little different with him. Wanted to do not just blue shockwaves, but I did some white with like an aqua highlight, and ended up thinking it looks like he's blasting ice cream out of his hands. But he's still different. He's alright, I suppose. Vulture, I saved up those pigeons from the New York building terrain set, or whatever it's called. The pigeons actually had a use here. Gave them a little food. Used Turbo Dork to give that metallic holographic look to some of their feathers. The pigeons were difficult to paint, and as usual, the Nuln oil is still looking wet. I don't know how to get it to stop doing that, but lately a lot of my miniatures have had this wet look to their bases. Not really a big fan of it, but this is that box. Regarding Sandman, to also make it so it stuck, this is what I used. I didn't spray the model with it. I sprayed like a pan, and then I brushed it on with just a trash brush and did a few layers of that. And then when I was done, I used this Mr. Super Clear Matte that I got from Hobby Lobby to coat him with a clear matte layer, so the sand, some of it still falls off, but not excessively or noticeably. CP-158, Black Panther Chosen of Bast, and Namor the Submariner. I had a little more fun painting Black Panther than I did Namor, but maybe that's because I never liked Namor that much. Stupid square-headed wingfoot guy. But he turned out okay. I tried to make the tip of his trident look like magic and coral, I guess, but it just kind of turned out blotchy. I'm really bad at painting explosions and smoke and water, so I did what I could. And then with Black Panther here, I actually incorporated a little bit of Wakandan alphabet, starting right there. It's just Black Panther, Chosen of Bast, and then it says King of Wakanda, and then by Derek. So nothing too special, but yeah, not a bad little set. A little sad that we got like 2 Black Panthers within 2 months of each other. So Captain Crunch, oops, all Black Panthers. Beats another Captain America and Red Skull, I guess. CP-162, Abomination and the Wrecking Crew, with Pile Driver, Bulldozer, Wrecker, and Thunderball. Bunch of losers. And this is going to bother me forever, where I tried to add another black stripe in for that construction theme. But whatever, the highlight of this set is definitely the Abomination. He is awesome. He came out exactly as I pictured in my mind. I did some color blending, which I don't usually do with him, and he is ready to face the Hulk. He looks really cool in my opinion. This was a good set solely for him. These guys, I don't really care about them. But I painted them to the best of my ability. And with this release, marks the end of year 5 of Marvel Crisis Protocol's releases. So, there we go. It's been a pretty decent year. I procrastinated and had to do a lot of catch-up this year. But I think I'm back into it, and hopefully year 6 I won't fall behind again. Alright, here is CP180, Icons of Bast. Now, I am not a fan of painting terrain, and the Wakanda had a lot of it. When I opened up a pack and saw, 8 or 10 lamps or whatever, I just was dragging my feet on doing the Wakanda terrain, and you're going to see it as I show it off, that a lot of it is just, not great. Could have done better on it, but didn't. Looks fine enough on the table, but this is Icons of Bast. It comes with 2 of these fountains, 2 little Bast statues, and then 1 giant Bast statue. CP185 Dark Future Terrain Pack. I messed up this little monolith or whatever, and I have it blue instead of purple on the front like all the other ones, but whatever. I don't know how there can be a dark future with how many light sources I've painted this year. But here are the apocalypse bodies. I don't know what these are, just dudes in a tube. But I painted that one like Dr. Manhattan. So, a little bit of DC for that Marvel Crisis Protocol, eh? This is CP194 Rejuvenation Chamber. So you can see the other stuff is getting ready to be painted, but this one is all done. I am not as happy with this as I am with the Asgardian Shrine. I think it's just the colors I chose for this don't look the best, but happy enough that it's finished, so looks just fine for the table. CP245, finished them up. This is Monsters Unleashed. We have Werewolf by Night, Dracula, Nkantu, I believe is how you say his name, the Living Mummy, and Frankenstein's Monster. I'm happy with all of them except Frankenstein's Monster. He looks okay, but I have not painted pretty much gray, dead skin before, so my purple wash took over and I had to do some cover-ups. Wasn't too happy with the result of that, but he's alright. This one actually turned out way better than I expected. He's awesome. I don't like object source lighting, but the paint as I was painting messed up and actually makes it look like object source lighting, but it is just me and sloppy paint job. Dracula was fun. I painted him up in his normal colors, and I can't be uniform in everything I do, so there's a gray and a brown bat in his bats. I tried to match my Tomb of Dracula terrain set, however the wash and colors that I used on that terrain set were used up because of that, so that's as close as I'm getting. Same with his base. And then as Werewolf by Night, I gave him a hideous color combination shorts that I saw at Target on one of their Tupperware Up and Up brands. It's like an orange and a seafoam green, and it was gross, so I gave it to him. And that was year 5 of Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is 5 years of work from me right here on this shelf, and I hope to continue into this game. I haven't really played it all since like 2023, but I still like collecting and painting the figures, and I will get this game to the table again sometime soon. I'm betting in 2025 we will see a Falcon, a Red Hulk, a Nova, probably a Wonder Man, and I will say the Fantastic Four. I know that the movie is not coming out soon, but I think they will premiere the Fantastic Four, or at least announce them. I hope. I'm ready for Doctor Doom as well, because they've gone over quite a bit of the popular characters and everything, and they seem to tie in with the MCU. And if you follow other Marvel games like Champions or Legendary, the deck building game, you can kind of get a hint of what is coming. I doubt we will see him, but because the deck building game is getting Weapon H, I would like to see Clayton Cortez in this game. So, yeah, there we go. We'll see what Year 6 brings.